Hello guys, welcome back to Dr. Chess. I'm back with another game of Bobby Fischer and Mikhail Tal. And as I told you in the previous video of that game, they played total 11 classical games. And from them, as I told you, 4 games was won by Mikhail Tal and 2 games were won by Bobby Fischer and rest of the 5 games were been drawn. So this was the 8th game, and from previous 7 games Bobby hadn't won any of them. And as I told you, 4 games were won by Mikhail Tal, so Mikhail Tal won first of the 4 games only, and rest of the 3 games were drawn, and this was the 8th game played between them. And as like the previous video, Mikhail Tal was black. In this also, Mikhail Tal is black and Bobby is white. And this was the game played in 1961. So Bobby starts with e4. Tal again replies with Sicilian defense, knight f3, knight to c6, and d4. Again open Sicilian, takes, knight takes, but here not that knight off variation. Here Tal comes up with Poljan variation, which is e6, knight to c3, and comes queen c7 and g3. Idea to somehow dominate the queen on c7 by attacking that file, and idea to go f4 in the future as well. So Tal comes up with knight f6, and here knight b5 attacks on the queen and also sees that weakened squares like d6, c7. So queen goes back to b8, and then bishop f4 and knight to e5 and bishop e2, bishop c5, and Bobby Fischer trades off some material off the board. And as I told you, in the future Bobby was planning to go f4, so here he goes. And after queen b8, just e5. And here, let's say if you play knight to d5, but then you just simply lost the pawn like this, right? So that was not so good, and your bishop's also under attack, so you can't play like that. And if you can't go there, h5 square is covered with the bishop, so only the square remains is g8, so that was not so good. So Tal comes up with a6, attacks the knight on b5, but Bobby S decides to trade off the knight, as Bobby was winning some material, I mean just a pawn, but now as you can see that pawn, if being maintained, then the game would be just as won as that, very simply. So as rook is been under attack, rook to g8 force, and then knight to e4, and as you can see the threat is knight f6 check, so bishop has to go back and guard that square, and Bobby put some pressure on that square again. And Tal comes up with rook to e4, and as queen is under attack, so knight to f6 first, and here if you go king to d8, but that doesn't differs that all, because then I can again sack my queen, like taking here. If you take back, and I'm winning just this pawn as well, so and this pawn on g7 is also looking somehow very good, and by taking that pawn you can also take the bishop, and idea to just promote, which is very deadly. And I am unstoppable, yeah, no one can guard that g8 promotion, right? So that was not at all good. So Tal just took that knight, and Bobby takes back, and here queen to c7, idea to somehow attack on c2 and maintain the queen in the game. And Bobby Fischer here goes with a pawn sacrifice by castling long, and as you can see a2 is hanging. Tal picks it up, and king to b1, and rook to a6 was played in the game. But here if you go queen to a5, But then b4 is coming, and as you can't take, as the rook on a2 is hanging, so you have to come here to guard the rook. But then bishop takes b5 to deflect the queen by defending the rook on a2. So somehow it's not at all so good. So in the game, Tal went for rook to a6, and bishop takes b5, rook to b6, bishop comes on d3, and then comes e5. And here was the moment Bobby Fischer took a long time and goes for f into e5. Brilliant queen sacrifice. The point is that here, if you capture, which was played in the game, but then f into e6, and now as you can see, g7 is as strong as that, and now white is just clearly winning, and which was continued as like only in the game also. And here Tal comes up with queen to c5, bishop takes h7, which was unstoppable, and Bobby goes for it, and now you can't move the rook and it can't be stopped by capturing, right? So Tal went for queen g5 idea to capture f6 and g7 by giving up the rook, and so which happened like it. And here rook h2 f1. So now if you go to capture g7, which was played in the game, but now as you can see, f7 is been attacked doubled, so bishop takes it, and then king to d8, and now bishop to d6, bishop e6, as the pawn on d7 has been pinned. So here Tal comes up with queen to h6, and bishop takes d7, and if you take it, which was played in the game, but then there's very cool tactical idea, as the bishop on d7 is pinned, so you can attack it double. And now if you just give away the queen by taking two rooks and give away the bishop, but then you can see 4 versus 1 is just winning for white, so you can't defend the bishop by the queen and give away for the two rooks, right? So Tal just goes and captures h2, and as the bishop was double attack, so takes king e8 and rook d2 e7 check, king d8, rook e2 d7 check, king c8, rook to c7 check, and Bobby just plays it like, and comes here and again checks with the f rook by d7, and finally after king e8, rook to d1, and you can go like ahead with capturing, and but Bobby was somehow afraid with this checks and trying not to give somehow the chance to play on, and so on. He keeps it as cool as that and comes up back with rook to d1, and here Tal comes up with b5 and rook to b7, as the b5 was attacked, so queen h5 after defending and attacking the rook on d1 as well. So you come up with g4, and after that queen to h3, and then you come up with g5, and then just queen to f3 attacking both the rooks, but as you have the check, rook to e1 check, and so on, king to f8 and rook takes, and after that king to g7, just moving out of the way from the queen, so that could not be the problem with the queen, right? So here comes up with rook to b6, trying to cut off the king somehow and making it on the second rank only, making it in just 2 ranks only, not coming out of from it, right? And so on, queen to g3, and as the rook on e1 is attacked, so rook to d1, and again queen c7 attacks the rook, but now Bobby just doubles it up, and after some moves like just queen to c8, b3 and king a7, I mean king h7 and rook to a6, Tal resigns. As you know, queen is just very lonely, which doesn't do anything with his two rooks and three pawns, which was as winning, and Bobby just slides over his rook from the b file, so then he can promote his b pawn up, and just Tal can't do anything with his queen, right? So on, the resignation was in demand just a time ago, but Tal was hoping for some miracle and some mistakes done by Bobby, but that was not possible, and Bobby just didn't. And so on, Bobby takes his revenge in his style by sacrificing a queen like Mikhail Tal only. And this was, believe it or not, first win of Bobby Fischer against Mikhail Tal. And so on. See you in the next video. Until that, be safe, stay safe. Bye bye.